Geoffrey Hinton, before there was ChatGPT, before there was Claude, before any of this existed, there was a British-Canadian cognitive psychologist obsessed with one idea everyone else thought was a dead end, that machines could learn the way brains do, by adjusting the strength of connections between artificial neurons. In the 1980s, Geoffrey Hinton helped popularize a technique called backpropagation, the mathematical engine that lets a neural network learn from its own mistakes. At the time, almost nobody in AI took neural networks seriously. The field had moved on. Hinton didn't. For 3 decades, he kept refining the idea, training students at the University of Toronto who would go on to define the entire industry. Then, in 2012, everything changed. Hinton and 2 of his students built a neural network that crushed every previous record in image recognition. That single result is widely credited as the spark that ignited the modern deep learning boom. The technology underneath every chatbot, every image generator, every AI product released since. Google bought Hinton's startup, and he spent the next decade as one of the most senior AI researchers inside the company. Then, in 2023, he did something almost nobody expected. He resigned from Google specifically so he could speak freely about the dangers of the technology he helped invent. He started warning, publicly and repeatedly, that AI could surpass human intelligence faster than anyone was prepared for, and that society wasn't taking the risk seriously enough. In 2024, Hinton received the Nobel Prize in Physics for his foundational work on machine learning, an extraordinary recognition for a physicist who never actually worked in physics. Today, he's known as the Godfather of AI, the man who built the foundation and now spends his time trying to make sure his own creation doesn't outgrow us. Sam Altman. If Hinton built the engine, Sam Altman is the one who put it in front of 1 billion people and stepped on the gas. Altman dropped out of Stanford to co-found a startup, sold it, then spent years as president of Y Combinator, the legendary startup accelerator, mentoring hundreds of founders before deciding to build something himself. In 2015, he co-founded OpenAI alongside a small group that included Elon Musk, originally as a non-profit research lab dedicated to making sure artificial general intelligence would benefit everyone, not just whoever built it first. For years, OpenAI was a research curiosity. Then, in November 2022, Altman's team released a chat interface for one of their language models almost as an afterthought, a low-key experiment called ChatGPT. It became the fastest-growing consumer application in history, reaching 100 million users in about 2 months. Overnight, Altman became the most recognizable face in artificial intelligence. OpenAI followed up with GPT-4, then video generation with Sora, image tools, voice assistants, and a steady drumbeat of releases that forced every tech company on Earth to scramble for an AI strategy. But Altman's run hasn't been smooth. In November 2023, OpenAI's own board fired him without warning, citing a breakdown in communication and trust. The fallout was extraordinary. Employees threatened to quit en masse. Microsoft offered to hire him directly, and within 5 days, Altman was reinstated as CEO with a restructured board. Since then, Altman has pushed OpenAI toward a more commercial structure, chasing massive infrastructure deals and positioning the company as the default AI layer for hundreds of millions of people's daily lives. Love him or distrust him, Altman is the person who turned AI from a research project into a product everyone uses before breakfast. Dario Amodei. Dario Amodei was in the room at OpenAI as it scaled from research lab to global phenomenon. He led the team that built GPT-2 and GPT-3 as the company's VP of Research, and then, in 2021, he walked away. Amodei, along with his sister Daniela and a group of fellow OpenAI researchers, left to start something different, Anthropic. Their pitch was almost contrarian for Silicon Valley. Build frontier AI, but treat safety not as a feature bolted on afterward, but as the actual design constraint. Anthropic structured itself as a public benefit corporation, explicitly building in a mission to ensure transformative AI helps humanity rather than harms it. The company's flagship product is Claude, a family of AI models named in a deliberate nod to literary craftsmanship, opus and sonnet among them, evoking the idea of writing as something precise and considered, not just generated. Claude built a reputation, particularly among developers, for nuanced reasoning, careful judgment, and being unusually good at long, complex coding tasks, strong enough that by late 2025, Anthropic's coding tools had become the most used option among professional engineers, ahead of competitors that had dominated that market for years. Amodei has walked a strange tightrope ever since founding Anthropic. He's simultaneously one of the loudest voices warning that advanced AI carries real catastrophic risk, and the CEO of a company racing to build the most capable AI models on the planet. His argument is that if powerful AI is coming regardless, it's better built by people who take the danger seriously than by people who don't. By 2026, that bet had turned Anthropic into one of the most valuable private companies in the world, with revenue rivaling OpenAI's and a growing reputation as the safety-conscious alternative in a famously reckless industry.
Elon Musk. Elon Musk's relationship with AI is, by his own account, complicated.
He was one of the original co-founders of OpenAI back in 2015, helping bankroll its early years, specifically because he was worried about AI being controlled by a single dominant company, namely Google. He left the board in 2018 over disagreements about the company's direction, and years later, he sued OpenAI and Altman directly, accusing them of abandoning their founding nonprofit mission for profit. Then, in 2023, Musk did what Musk always does when he's unhappy with an industry. He built a competitor. He founded xAI with an explicit mission to understand the true nature of the universe, a deliberately grand framing for what is, practically speaking, a race to build frontier AI models. xAI's product is Grok, a chatbot tightly integrated into X, the social platform Musk owns, giving it a built-in distribution advantage no other AI lab has. Musk has poured staggering resources into the project, building one of the largest AI supercomputer clusters in the world to train Grok at a pace meant to rival labs that had years of head start. True to form, his approach has been aggressive and controversial. Grok has been at the center of repeated controversies over its outputs, and Musk has used it as a platform to needle his rivals directly. Whatever you think of the execution, Musk is the only person on this list who helped start the modern AI race, walked away from it, and then came back to compete against the very company he helped create. Alexandr Wang. Most people never hear the name Alexandr Wang, but almost every major AI model you've used owes something to his company. Wang founded Scale AI at 19 years old, building a business around a deceptively unglamorous problem. AI models need enormous amounts of carefully labeled data to learn from, and someone has to organize the humans who label it. Scale became the quiet infrastructure behind the AI boom, working with major labs and landing significant U.S. government and defense contracts along the way. By his mid-20s, Wang had become one of the youngest self-made billionaires in the world. Then, in June 2025, his story took an unusual turn. Meta invested over $14 billion into Scale AI, taking a 49% stake in the company, and Wang himself left the CEO seat to join Meta directly, tasked with leading the company's new superintelligence research effort. It was one of the largest acqui-hire deals in tech history, a sign of just how desperate even the biggest tech companies had become to land top AI talent. Wang remains chairman of Scale, but his new job puts him in the unusual position of now competing directly against labs like OpenAI and Anthropic, this time wearing Meta's colors instead of his own.